Hi. As you remember, last time we left off doing that side of Lydia's face. We are now going to work on this side, a corresponding side. I'm going to try to match this curl, which bounces up. I'm going to try to match it in a pattern that's going to go similarly up. It doesn't look like that on the drawing, so I'm actually going to change what I have in the drawing to match that particular curl. Doesn't always, you don't always draw something that you're going to listen to. You're always going to make changes. In this case, I liked that little curl so much, I'm going to keep it consistent. Make this a little bit more liquid. It's just a tad too dry. I have 2 or 3 different varieties of this color on my palette. So one's going to be very light, one's going to be medium, and the other one's going to be dark. Again, it's too dry. Let's try to make it just a tad wetter. By wet, I still want to keep the amount of color in it active. I don't want to go too dry or too wet because it's going to be almost transparent. The water is going to be more dominant. And I don't want that to happen. This particular part of hair is, I'm trying to match it to this curl. It'd be nice to have some sort of rhyming effect. That's what we're going to do. You can always almost see the effect. The colors are real close. And that's exactly what I want. I'm going to refer back to the actual photograph I took many times because, for one thing, like I said, I'm ad-libbing. I'm changing a few things that are not in the photograph. For one thing, I'm making her hair very long. It's a personal thing with me. I like to paint models with long hair. It's a great way to frame the entire painting. That way I don't have to worry about backgrounds. The hair is going to be the background. I'm going to add a little bit more colors to this whole thing. All I'm doing is really making the palette color a little bit more pliable. I always say I want to make it like the consistency of pancake batter. Not that I really make many pancakes, but it's something that most people can understand. I don't want it too thick or too thin. All right, so that's going to be the medium colored, not too dark, not too light. I'm going to try to do something that's going to act as a darker current. It's going to bring the light one out more. This one's a little bit of the dark one. It's not day or night. It's not going to really make a big difference, but then again, it'll make a substantial difference. It's going to make the light one pop out. I'm trying to make the paint have a good strength. So I want the pigmentation to be more strong than the fluidity of it. I don't want the paint to be too transparent. I want there to be a very good strong color coming out. Some people misuse acrylics almost to the extent, because it is a water-based medium, they put too much water in it. It almost ends up looking like a watercolor. And I don't care for that at all. I understand it, but I'm not a very big watercolor artist. To me, it's a medium, which is tricky. I like acrylics. I get more of a result. So I'm going to go down and act as a little dark barrier behind that curl. Almost a wave, it's so big and bold. I am now going to adhere a little bit to the drawing. In that, I'm going to do a double curve like I have in the drawing. I'm also going to make super dark background colors to make that large body wave pop out. You'll be able to see that in a moment. For instance, I'm going to use a Payne's gray and a burnt umber, a combination. It's going to act as a real dark background. It'll bring out the light curls. So I'm mixing those three elements, Payne's gray, burnt umber, and a little bit of that light raw umber. I have all the colors on my palette, so here we go. Put a little bit here, a little bit too much, it's a little bit too thick. Back to the light again. We're going to blend the two in and go in here. The lights in this room tend to dry up my paint, so I have to really move along here because the moment I put paint down the canvas, it's dry already. Here we go. Let's make some of this lighter. Perfect. And again, making it very fluid, like pancake batter. I'm putting just enough water to make the pigmentation still true. Here we go. Let's do it again. And we're going to try to make this just a tad lighter. We're going to go back into this unadulterated pile of raw umber. Make it really light. I'm going to do a couple of subtle transferences. For instance, if I put a nice dark grouping right here, you can see how light indeed that paint is. Sometimes you have to be very careful and not make too much water on your palette. You can almost see the surface of the canvas if there's too much water. And I don't want that to happen. I just want to go over this again and again and again with the dark paint. We're going to make the light paint very, very dominant now. Again. I'm going to make it really pop out. We might make one strand exist on its own. Like I pretty much did here. I was using a very small brush to have some of these pop out. Okay, let's do a couple more like that, some light ones. I like the one I did here, and we'll pop that one out. We'll have the same thing happen. It's going to be different on this side. This is the right side of her face. That's the left side. We're actually going to make, because it is so far away, we're going to act like there's a difference in the amount of light that hits it. It's just strictly something we could do. We can't go too far different. We don't want people to say that this part of the face is somebody else's. So we have to be very careful and make sure the color is close. Here we go. We're going to do it again. We're going to do some background colors. A little bit of dark between the two. Make sure it's not too dry. A little bit of dark here. Again, to make the whole thing pop out. Got to be careful, the water is becoming too strong. Notice that that side is a tad redder. Now I have some burnt sienna on my palette, and what I might do is introduce that somewhere in the stage. Burnt sienna is just a tad of, to me, a little orangey red, a brownish orangey red, depending on your brand, of course. Let's make a little dark between the two. So I'm going to actually put a little bit of Payne's Gray and a little burnt sienna between the two. Make it nice and pliable. You can see what that dark does. It really makes the two separate nicely. I'm also going to put a little bit of dark between the face and the hair, right here. It's funny, when you use different brands of paint, there's subtle differences, and I don't want to adhere to one brand, but I tried something different on my palette, and I can see a difference between the two already. I hate to forego one brand over another and say only use this, only use that, because every brand offers something good. I kind of like the way that this particular brand of Payne's Gray has less of a blue feeling to it. Some brands of Payne's Gray have a blue tinge to it. Once you get used to what you get, it's easy to minimize or maximize the effect. Okay. You can see the amount of contrast between the dark and the light. On this side of the face, it's more evident than that. Well, actually, on the photograph you don't. I'm actually making this up as I go along. I would like to see the hair separating from the face at this point, so I'm going to darken this up like crazy. And I'll show you what I mean. That's what we're doing next. Payne's Gray, burnt umber. The darkest spectrum possible. And these two are very, very harmonious as far as I'm concerned. They really play off each other very well. I'm going to darken this up. This is the separation between the face and the hair. You'll see a very big contrast now. I have to really work up a big puddle of paint for this to happen. So a lot of Payne's Gray and a lot of burnt umber should do it nicely. Good. Between the face and the hair on the right side, might have to make it even more fluid. The drama of the effect is going to be incredible. Her whole face is going to be separated. Once I have this harsh line, I'm going to go back and kind of diffuse it a bit because it is a bit strong. So now I'm going to take this, add a little bit of titanium, unbleached titanium. What that's going to do is it'll not be as intense. It'll still be rather dark, but not as intense as it was. That's a bit too grayish, so I'm going to put a little bit of burnt umber in the mix. And a little bit of Payne's Gray. Just a tad. Very good. I wanted the separation, this part of the face, just to add as a dramatic. It's not in the photograph. The photograph I took of Lydia is a very bland white background, and I wanted a little bit of drama with the background, so I darkened it. I also want the hair to be longer, so I like having long hair in a lady. I'm going to take a bit of a thicker brush and just put in big globs of paint. I really don't have to make this too long. I can make it more just a big area of dark. So we're going to do that. you could see the incredible difference this has made. The entire face is now, to me, it looks separated, whereas before the background was so light and almost cheery. You no longer have it. It's a very dark, almost solemn background. Just because we had introduced a very dark contrast to it. It also is a good contrast to the pupils of the eyes. The almost add a rhyme to the darkness of the eye, the pupils. Whereas before they were so dominant, they now have a home. I'm not alone anymore. I'm going to bring this up a little bit higher because right now it's a little bit too separate from the rest of the hair. I'm going to bring this up to here. I really want to work on the top part of the forehead eventually. I wanted to see what it would look like when I put the dark in. Sometimes you really can't finish one part of a forehead or a cheek till you see what the background's going to ensue. Now you can actually see how this forehead's full. And whereas before it was kind of lacking a bit. It was not, it actually made her look like a different person because his forehead was not complete. And it also makes it look kind of complete now. We're going to make this dark all the way up to here. We're going to darken the bottom as well. I think the drama of the dark next to the bright eyes, the impact is incredible. It adds a whole different dimension to the whole face. I always thought that when I took this photograph, either she was in a bad mood or she was tired of being photographed that day. Either way, I don't like just doing a portrait. I like to capture a feeling of the moment in the person. I think I caught something there. It's not enough to just do a likeness. That's kind of boring. It doesn't really give you much. But if you do, if you capture a feeling of the moment, that's pretty good. I think some of the best portraits have that element. All right, I'm going to bring this out just a bit more. Now, let's do a little bit more hair on this side. A couple more of the French curls, or whatever they are. So we're going to actually make some of these a bit lighter. I'm going to clean off the brush. This is the long one. Have some of these just as long as the one next to it. The trick is to make sure the paint is fluid enough and yet has enough pigmentation that it's not transparent. You don't want to run the risk of having it look like a watercolor. At least I don't want to have that risk. I took about 30 photographs of Lydia over the years. This is the last one I took of her. And I really enjoyed doing the series of photographs because every photograph captured a different element. This element is probably that she was very tired that day and she didn't want to be photographed anymore. Okay, we're getting down to doing one last bit of this curl. And I want to show the fact that one more little bit of darkness happens. I think in the next segment I'm going to talk about this drawing on the left of me. I had just finished it, and I meant to talk more about it this particular segment, but we'll do it next time. It's something I've been working on for quite a long time, as many of my students and friends will know. I do a lot of pen and inks, so we'll talk about it a little bit more next time. Let's just do a little bit more of this. Connect the two. And you'll see the impact when they're connected. Like I said, I want these two to merge quietly. And I think that's what will happen.